So now we are going for difference between form builder, forms and OAF pages. Okay. So in Oracle applications, the last 20 years we are using the D2K forms. When we say this Oracle Apps ERP started in 1996, it's almost 20 years. Last 20 years we are using the D2K forms. But OAF has introduced around 5 years back. It means in 2011, in that time OAF has introduced. Initially it was not that much famous, but after R12 is released, last 2-3 years, OAF pages are very good performance at the client's place. So clients are interested to go for OAF pages only in R12, Oracle applications. Okay. What are the major differences between OAF and Form Builder is, OAF follows the MVC architecture and client server architecture. Both will be followed in OAF. OAF stands for Oracle Applications Framework. OAF stands for Oracle Applications Framework. By using the JDeveloper tool, will develop the OAF pages. By using the JDeveloper tool, will develop the OAF pages. And forms, we use the forms developer, form builder. So we'll use the form builder. For forms, we use the form builder. So MVC stands for Model View Controller. MVC stands for Model View Controller. M for model, V for view, C for controller. M for model, V for view, C for controller. Model is nothing but your database. Model is nothing but your database tables. View is nothing but a display, layout. View is nothing but a display, layout. Controller is nothing but your Java class. Controller is nothing but your Java class. Means your logic. Controller is nothing but a Java class where we will write our logic. In model, we don't write any logic. Select statement will be there. Select or insert, update or delete. View also we don't write any logic. That is designing. View also we don't write any logic. That is just to display your items. It is a designing part. No logic here. No coding. Whatever code we write, that will define in the controller. Nothing but a Java class. Nothing but a Java class. Whereas in form builder, we have the data block. Data block is nothing but your table name and column names. And form builder will follow only one client server architecture. Client server architecture. Form builder will follow only client server architecture. So in forms we have something called data block. And we have the canvas. In OAF we call it as a view. In forms we call it as a canvas. And then we have the triggers. Here we will write PLSQL code. Here we are writing the Java code. So that is the difference between form builder and OAF basic components. If you want to develop a OAF page, you must create these three options. If you want to develop a simple form, you must create these three options. First, data block we have to define. Data block is nothing but a table name and column names. Table name and column names. Canvas is nothing but a layout. Display your columns. Display your columns to the user. Trigger is nothing but your PLSQL code. Trigger is nothing but your PLSQL code, PLSQL logic. So in forms, we'll write logic in the triggers. In OAF, we'll write the logic in controller. So OAF follows the MVC architecture and as well as client server architecture, but forms follows only client server architecture. Client means your desktop, which will directly connect to the server. OAF pages are lightweight components. Whatever the components you are putting on the OAF page, those are lightweight components. You don't require much space to locate this OAF page. But forms are not lightweight components. Whatever the components you are using in the form, those are not lightweight components. Component is nothing but a text items, checkboxes, radio buttons, these all are nothing but a components. Whenever you open the form, in the front end we will see, right? OAF pages can send through mobile devices. Once you develop the OAF page, that you can convert as a mobile device, means mobile app page also. But forms cannot be sent to the mobile devices. It won't support. Form builder won't support for mobile or tab piece. It supports only for desktop and laptop. But OAF pages will support for the mobile device as well as for tab device also. If you develop OAF page, it can be deployed either in the mobile or in the tab or in the laptop or in the desktop anyway. OAF pages can connect in Oracle Apps local machine also. It means if you have an Internet Explorer, then you can open your OAF page. But forms is not like that. If you want to open your form builder forms, you must to initiate one software called here JInitiator. That's why whenever you try to connect to the applications, this is OAF page. 2 text items, 2 buttons, one more text item with LOV, list of values, this. Okay. So these all are OAF pages which are lightweight components. This page you can open anywhere because it is a web page. This is a web page. In your local system, you don't need to install any additional softwares. But if you want to open the D2K form, you should install the JInitiator software. So D2K forms cannot be opened directly in your local system. Initially, JInitiator software should be installed. Look and feel is good. When we talk about the look and feel, OAF pages look and feel are good, not better when comparing with OAF. Forms look and feel is not better whenever we compare with OAF pages. OAF pages are integrated with the Java top. Forms are integrated with the application top. We discussed about application tier architecture, right? Very starting class. Apple top, custom top, 12.0.0, forms, reports, US folder, this all. So here forms are related with Apple top. OAF pages are related with Java top. OAF pages are related with Java top. Commit always takes place in the application in Java code. In OAF there is something called AM. There itself commit will happen. Whereas in forms you have to write a code, commit underscore form or do underscore key commit underscore forms can be invoked from any trigger that allows restricted the procedures. So whenever you want to issue the commit in forms you can do it, but in OAF always your commit happened in the AM, application modules. What is AM, how it will work, we will see in the OAF pages. Okay. Then a page is divided into the regions. In OAF, whenever you start development of the page, it will be divided into the regions. Okay. Now if you look at, this is also OAF page, this is one region, this is one region, and this is also one region. So we are able to find 3 separate regions here. This is one region and this one and this separate. So inside of OAF pages we will find the regions. Here we will find the blocks. In D2K we will call it as a blocks. So here inside of OAF page we will find the regions. Whereas in form builder, forms contains the blocks, nothing but a data blocks. Inside of region what we will find? We will find the fields, checkboxes, radio buttons like this. Same thing here also. Components are same. Here also we will find the fields, checkboxes, radio buttons, frames that we will find. So this is the major difference between OAF pages and Oracle forms. Okay. Finally, if we develop OAF page or if we develop the form builder form, purpose of forms is when you want to insert a record, when you want to update a record, when you want to delete a record from the database table, when you want to select the record from the database table in user-friendly environment, nothing but a GUI environment. We use graphical user interface environment whenever you want to do all these actions. Generally, you want to insert a record. What we can do, we'll go to SQL prompt and write an insert statement. We are a developer, so we can write an insert statement. End user is not a software developer or is not an Oracle developer. So end user is required one user-friendly environment where they can enter the data and click the button. Data should be saved. Data should be saved into the database. That's why these forms came into the picture. So forms are used to insert the records, update the records, delete the records, and select the records into your database tables. Whether you develop OAF page or whether you develop form builder page, both are same. Both purpose is same. Okay, fine. Now I'll go for developing one simple form. Reports we have already discussed. The reports purpose is select the data and display the data. Yes, in OAF also we'll go for develop the data entry page. You can sit and wait. It takes another 1 hour. Yes. In OAF pages also we can go for develop the data entry pages where user can insert the records, update the records, delete the records as well as search. All operations can be done. All operations can be done. Now if we open this, this is our D2K form. This is our D2K form. Okay. Now I will show you how to develop this form by using the form builder. It is very simple. Open form builder. Form's old version, it was 4.5 starting version. Then we got 6i. Then we got 9i. Now it is the latest version 10G. Now latest version we are using 10G form builder. Okay. Whenever we want to develop any form, first data block should be created. First data block should be created, canvas, then window. Data block is nothing but a table name and column names. Data block is nothing but a table name and column names. Canvas is used to display your data block columns. Whatever data block columns we have, that we are going to display. Canvas will be attached to the window. Canvas will be attached to the window. When we develop the form, .fmb is the extension, form module binary. Form module binary. .fmx form module executable. FMB is the source file. FMX is the executable file. FMB is the source file. FMX is the executable file. FMB stands for form module binary. FMX stands for form module executable. FMX stands for form module executable. Now data block means simple, table name and column names. When we want to start develop any form in form builder, first we have to create a data block. Go to data block, create. We can go through wizard or manual also. Manual is simple. Wizard also simple, no problem. Just go for manual. Manual means manually we have to configure the properties. Wizard means it will automatically configure the properties. Now go to data block properties. Two properties are important. Query data source name, nothing but a table name. Nothing but a table name. I'm giving the table fnd underscore user. Query data source name, source columns, nothing but a columns. Query data source columns, nothing but a columns. Here whatever columns we will require, that we will select. This complete video is there already in the YouTube. You can inquiry later. Now you can just listen the things enough. Including voice, I have already uploaded in the YouTube. Then you can. This class also is recording, so you don't need to worry. I'll give the access. Now 3 columns I am going to select from the table and design the form. User ID, username and creation date. Press OK. You want to write anywhere class, you can write. So I don't want to select more than 100 records, where row num less than or equal to 100. You want to write any order by class, you can write order by user ID, descending order something. While developing the data block, there are 3 properties: insert allowed, update allowed, delete allowed. If you say insert allowed as no, user cannot insert the records. He can just read. If you say update, update also not allowed, user cannot update the records also. If you say no, user cannot even delete the records also. So it depends on your requirement, you can configure it. Close. Now data block is completed. Go to canvas. Canvas is nothing but a layout. In reports we have done, right, data model and layout model. Same way here, data block and canvas. In the canvas we will display these columns. Whatever we have selected, that will display in the canvas. Double click. How many blocks we have? Only one block. One block means one table. One block means one table, or view also, no problem. You can use the view also. And how many layouts? Only one canvas. As usual, like in the reports, first we'll start with the frame. Frame is not mandatory, that is for designing purpose. Frame is not mandatory, that is for designing purpose. No fill, no line. These all options already we have seen in the report, same. And whenever we want to display one column, what we will use? Text item. This is to display user ID. This is to display username. This is to display the date. Now we have to change the properties, right? Go to text item, properties. There is only one column, one property that we have to change, column name. Give your column. Text item name, if we want to change, we can change, otherwise not required. But only one property we have to map, that is column name. Whatever database column you have, that we have to mention. That's all. Like this, if you have 100 columns also, will map. Before this text item, you can give some meaningful prompt. How to provide the prompt? By using the text. User ID, username, creation date. If you want to increase the font size, this. And you can go for this. Like this, we can drag and drop. We can drag and drop and design the form. Now form is done. We have developed the data block, nothing but table name and column names. We have designed the canvas. This canvas we have to attach to the window. If there is only one canvas, we don't need to attach. It takes automatically. Now we'll see how to attach the canvas to the window. Simple, go to window properties. There is a property primary canvas, attach. Primary canvas attach. Yes. Without window you can't go for open the canvas. At least frame is just for grouping. Without frame also we can design the form. But why we require this frame? Just for grouping your data. Now if we look at our Oracle Apps forms, D2K forms, I will show you where the frame is there. Now this is frame. Okay, and this is your frame. So what you are trying to do is, these two fields are similar means functionality is similar. Like yesterday class we discussed effective from date and effective to date, right? So why we are using the frames is you are going to group some similar type of fields. And text item, just now we have seen how to place the text item and how to give the prompt. So that one only here. This is in D2K. Same form if you register in Oracle Apps, it will work like this. Okay. Now we'll go for running the form. How to run? There is one option, server option. We have to start it. If you want to run the D2K form, this server must be run and close this. You can't run D2K form and Oracle Apps at a time. You should log out from Oracle Apps if you want to run the D2K. Same database, username, password, apps. I think there is some problem in the client version. Fine, that's not an issue. Once we develop the form, if we save it, it will be saved.fmb. And how to generate FMX, program compile. It will compile the form also. FMX will be generated. Wherever your FMB is located, there itself FMB also generated. Now this is our FMB, this is our FMX. FMX is nothing but executable. This one only we will open in the front end. We don't open the FMB. FMB is a source. FMB is the source file. If you want to customize the form, you have to download FMB and customize. If you want to open the form, FMX will be open. So this is general introduction about the forms. So we don't need much information about forms. We are not at all using these forms in the field. So if you go to youtube.com and search for Chandra Online, so you have the forms. Triggers already we discussed, that I don't think so you need to refer. Then you can go for forms. Okay, fine. Now we'll go for OAF architecture. So whenever we say OAF is MVC architecture, there is there in our class folder. Again, what is the advantage of OAF, Oracle Applications Framework, and what is the necessary to use the OAF? Integration, security, customization, difference between OAF and forms that just now we discussed, and structure of OAF. It is a MVC architecture, model view controller. When we look at this diagram, model is here, view is nothing but this, your page, front end, look and feel, HTML page internally, HTML, and controller is nothing but your logic. Now what end user will do? End user will open the page. End user will open the page and he will click the button that is nothing but a request, HTML request, and it will execute your logic controller. Internally it will connect to the model, nothing but your database tables, and your data will be retrieved and it is displayed. Now here you can see double arrow mark is there. Double arrow mark means if you enter the data, that data also inserted into the table and also it will be selected, both insertion as well as delete, update and select actions will happen. So this is view, nothing but your page. This is model, nothing but your database tables. Controller is nothing but your logic, your actions we are going to write. There is one simple PDF that we can easily understand. Let me search. Yes. Yes. How to download this? Fine. So now this PDF we can see what is OAF framework, why OAF framework is required, what is the OAF framework architecture, what is MVC architecture and its components, what are profile options we will use for OAF personalization, which version of JDeveloper tool we have to use to develop the OAF pages, what is the structure of JDeveloper, development of search page, and the summary information. That's what we are going to see now. This Oracle Applications Framework is a proprietary framework developed by Oracle Corporation for application development within the Oracle e-business suite. If you develop the OAF page, that is executable only in Oracle apps. You can't execute this OAF page in another software. It is only for Oracle applications R12 version or 11i versions only, not for other applications. It is available to customers for personalizations, customizations, and custom application development. Personalization means if you want to hide some buttons, you want to provide LOV, you want to change the prompt, these things comes under the personalization. Customization is nothing but change the logic, change the code inside of this page. Custom application development. What is the meaning of this word custom? Custom is nothing but a new pages development. So here your clients, customers are nothing but who are using Oracle Apps software. They can develop new OAF pages, they can customize OAF pages, and they can personalize OAF pages. Three things can be done. This OAF framework is a model view controller framework. Model view controller framework by using J2EE technologies. How this MVC architecture is designed by using J2EE technologies. Java to Enterprise Edition. J2EE stands for Java to Platform Enterprise Edition. Java to Platform Enterprise Edition. Why we require this OAF framework? Enterprise grade performance will be there and scalability. When we are working with the OAF page, when you want to open the OAF page, it takes time. Initially it takes time, but once the page is loaded, it will be very faster compared with D2K forms. Initially it will take time. When you open the OAF page, initially it will take time, but once page is opened, the performance will be more. And improved end user productivity. Data entry operators can easily enter the data and save the data into the base tables. It is easy for a data entry and flexible. Highly extensible architecture. Once you develop a page and give it to the client want again extend after 2 years. They want to add some more functionality. They want to add some more columns. They want to add some more regions. They can easily attach. That is highly extensible architecture. Browser look and feel for all applications. BLAF terminology. BLAF stands for browser look and feel is very good. And open industry standards such as XML, HTML, Java, JSP, SQL and web services. Whenever you develop OAF page, internally it will build the files, XML files, HTML files, Java files. But anyway, this all we don't require. We never use all this. System will automatically generate the code internally. That we never open also. That we don't worry. We need basic Java coding. That anyway we'll discuss what things we required in the Java. Now, if just now we discussed OAF architecture is MVC architecture. This just now we have discussed page, HTML page, and controller is nothing but your Java class, and model is nothing but your database tables and view it is. Controller and view. For example, you have developed a page which is not connected with the database. You have developed one page. That page is not retrieving the data from the table. It is just for display some information. Then what happened? Through here only it will be viewed into your request. When you are connecting with the database, then it goes to model. Now, what are the components we have in MVC architecture? What are the components we have in MVC architecture? Okay. First we will discuss about model. In the model is nothing but a data. As we have already discussed, it's completely database. Okay. So here implemented using BC4J components, business components for Java. Model contains BC4J components. What are the BC4J components we have? EO, VO, AM. EO stands for entity object. VO stands for view object. AM stands for application module. Okay. Three components we have in the model. These three we call it as a BC4J components. Business components for Java. Business components for Java. In the model we will find these three. Means here. So inside of model we will find three components: entity object, view object, application module. Next, view. View is nothing but this page. View is nothing but a page. So inside of page, what we will do, we will design the text items, checkboxes, radio buttons. This all we will design. Nothing but an interface, user interface. User interface. It is implemented by using Oracle technology called UIX. Oracle technology called UIX. User interface XML. User interface XML. In the view, we will go for completely designing. There is no logic or there is no coding here. It is just designing part. It is just designing part. Controller is nothing but this. This is nothing but controller. So inside of controller, what we will find? Only code, your logic. This is nothing but your Java class. This is nothing but your Java class. So these are the three levels we have, and these are the components. If you are flexible all these three, what is controlled by in MVC architecture? So controller is nothing but a Java class in the MVC architecture. Here we will write our complete logic. Okay. So whatever actions, if user click the button, you want to execute some code. If user click the checkbox, you want to execute some code. So that all actions will write inside of the controller. This is nothing but a Java class. So this page is important. If you are flexible all these things, then your OAF will be completed. You must know how to work with the model, how to work with the view, how to work with the controller. Inside of model, what are the components we have? Three components we have. These three components we will call it as a BC4J components. Business components for Java. Entity object, view object, AM. What is entity object? We will discuss next level. Okay. So in the model we have three things. View is nothing but your page design, designing part. Just now we have done, right, when we talk about D2K forms. Canvas. This is nothing but a view. In D2K we call it as a canvas. In OAF we call it as a view. In D2K data block is nothing but your tables and columns. In OAF we call it as a model. And here you have the triggers. to write your logic. Here we have the triggers to write the logic. There are number of triggers, but in OAF there are only 2 triggers that we'll be using. That we'll discuss what are that later. Okay. So this page is important. So if we are flexible with all these components, then OAF page development will be done. So now we'll talk about what are these 3 things inside of the model, then what is view, and then what is the controller. First we are going for model components. Interaction between model, view, controller. How this will be interacted between these 3. Okay. So first view is there, then we have controller, then we have the model. Inside of that model you have the database. Okay. So first what user will do, user will open the page. User will open the page and click some button. Then what happened, automatically the request will come into your controller. Request comes to your controller. Controller is nothing but your Java class. Controller is nothing but your Java class. And it will connect to AM. AM stands for application module. AM stands for application module. Okay. So it will internally connect to view object. Then it will connect to entity object. Then it will connect to the database. Okay. So here view means HTML page. Controller means controller class, nothing but a Java class. Model is nothing but 3 components. Just now we discussed, right, in the previous page. Model is nothing but a 3 components. View is nothing but your page. Controller is nothing but your code, nothing but a Java code. Okay. So here is a view, here is a controller, here is a model. So this is your HTML page, this is your Java class. AM is common, this is required for your transactionals, commit and rollback, that we'll discuss clearly later. Then 2 things we have here, view object, entity object. View object is selecting the data from database. If you want to select the data, then we use view objects. No, I don't want to select, I want to insert, update, delete. I want to do the insert, update, delete, DML operations. Then you have to use entity object. That is very simple. If you want to select the data, you have to create a view object. If you want to insert, update, delete transactions, then you have to go for entity object. So view object is used to select the data from database, indirectly select statement. View object is nothing but a select statement. And entity object is used to apply the DML operations. Insert, update, delete. Whenever you are developing data entry pages, then you have to go for entity object. When you are developing search pages, then you have to go for view object. It's very simple. Inside of AM, we don't write any logic. That we have to create, which will issue the commit and rollback whenever you make some transaction. It means AM will handle your transactions. Application module will handle your transactions. What are your transactions? Insert, update, delete, select, commit, rollback. These all are your transactions. Whenever you issue that, that will be handled by the AM. Application module. We don't work with this AM. We'll just create. We'll create one AM and we'll leave it. We don't write anything inside of the AM. Okay. So it's very clear, when you are developing the search pages, you have to create a view object. When you are developing the data entry pages, you have to go for entity object. Entity object is used for insert, update and delete. Insert, update and delete. Okay. So this will connect to the database. Now here arrow marks are very important in this diagram. Now user will open the HTML page. And whenever user clicks some button, it will go to the controller. Inside of that controller, if you don't write any database actions, what happened? Immediately response will go to the user. Means let's say you are displaying some message, you are not selecting data or you are not doing any insert, update, delete. When user click button, you are showing some hello, this is so and so user, some message you are displaying. That is not related with the database table. So no way this controller will connect to the model. It will directly display the response. Directly it will display the response. In case you have written some database, you have written some select statement or insert, nothing but a view object or entity object, definitely this controller will connect to the AAM. Okay, so controller cannot access directly view object or entity object. You must access the AAM, application module. See, the arrow mark is directly AAM. Again, AAM cannot directly contact the entity object. AAM must contact the view object. Application module will not access the entity object directly. Application module must access the view object first. For example, you have created only view object, what happened? It will select the data and it is going to display in your page. You have written select statement only, then select statement means view object. So what happened? It will select your data from the table, from database table. See, arrow mark is there to the database, and again it retrieves and it will go to the AAM, it will go to the controller and it is going to display inside of your page. For example, you have written insert, update and delete, then what happened? This view object will connect to the entity object. Whenever you develop the OAF page, data entry page, then only entity object will comes into the picture. Entity object comes into the picture when you are developing the data entry pages where you can insert, update, delete the data. That time also, when user enter the record, that will go to the first controller. From the controller it goes to AAM, application module. From there it will go to view object. From there it will connect to entity object and it will connect to the database. Okay. So if you create entity object, you must create a view object for that. If you create an entity object, you must create a view object for that. So view objects are two types. If you go down, next page. Now here we can see what is meant by entity object. Entity object is based on the database table or other data source. Based on the database table or other data source. Other data source means view or synonym, or it can be other data source. Generally it will be tables in Oracle apps. You can also use the views and synonyms. Entity object contains attributes which represent database columns, nothing but a columns. All insert, update, delete, nothing but all your DML operations, transactions go through your entity object to database. Your entity object to the database. All insert, update and delete options. So whenever you are developing data entry form, then you have to go for entity object. Okay. After creating the entity object, you must create a view object for that. Otherwise, you cannot attach the entity object to the AAM directly. You can see there is no arrow mark between the AAM and entity object. Once you create entity object, you must attach this entity object to the view object. Then view objects will be attached to the AAM. Then AAM will be attached to the controller. Controller will be attached to the page. That is entity object. Next, view object. View objects are two types. One is SQL based, nothing but a select statement. Another one is EO based. Just now we discussed it, right? If you create an entity object, you must create a view object for this EO. So view objects are two types. One is general view, nothing but a SQL select statement. No relation with the entity object. Another one is EO based. EO based means you created an entity object, but entity object you can't attach to the AAM directly. You must create a VO for that. So two types of view objects we have. One is SQL based, another one is EO based. It represents a query result, nothing but a select statement. It represents a query result, nothing but a select. What is purpose? It is used for joining, filtering, projecting and sorting and searching your business data. Nothing but a search pages. Nothing but a search pages. In Oracle apps we have summary forms like requisition, purchase order, sales order. invoice, summary forms we have seen. Same thing here, we call it as a search points, search pages. Can be based on any number of entity objects and provide access to the entity objects. You can create number of view objects for the entity objects. Sometimes if you are only selecting the data, you don't need entity object, only view object will create. So what type of that view object? That is SQL based, nothing but your query. So view objects are two types. One is SQL based, another one is UO based. That's two things we have discussed. What is entity object? What is view object? Then one more is AM, application module. What is AM? It's container for the view objects. Inside of AM, what we will find? We'll find view objects. That's what in the arrow mark. See, only view objects you will find inside of the AM. No entity object, no other things. Every page must have a root application module. Means every page is required one AM. Without AM, you can't develop the page. At least one AM is required, maybe multiple AMs also. That we'll see when we are working with the page. So AM is mandatory application module. For every page, one root application, one root AM is required. Maybe multiple AMs also required. Okay, but one is mandatory. It handles your transaction. It's one of the important questions, what AM will do. It handles our transaction. What are our transactions? Insert, update, delete, select, commit, rollback. These all are our transactions. So this AM will handle all our transactions. So these are three things we have discussed. So in the model, we have three components: entity object, view object, application module. We have discussed all these three. Entity object is created whenever you are developing the data entry pages. Nothing but a insert, update, delete things are required. Let's say you are developing search page, you don't require entity object, you will create only view object. And whether you create VO or EO, AM is mandatory. Application module is mandatory. What it will do, it will handle your transactions. It will handle your transactions. That is about model. So we completed about the model. It has got BC4J components, business components for Java, AM, view object, entity object. View in MVC Architecture. There is nothing to discuss about controller. Controller is nothing but your Java class. And there is nothing to discuss about your page. It's nothing but a front end designing part. View in MVC Architecture. This is how your forms looks like. Right now you can leave it. When we are working with the pages, you will be clear. Now controller in MVC Architecture. What is controller? It responds to user actions and directs application flow. It responds to user actions and directs application flow. Nothing but whenever user click the button, some actions are happening, right? What happened? So it connects to internet, it will get slow. Fine. So controller responds to user actions and directs application flow. Model objects like entity object and view object cannot be accessed directly from the controller class except A. Very important point. Model objects, what are model objects? We have entity object, view object and AM. Three components we have. This EO and VO cannot be accessed directly from the controller class except AM. If we look at previous diagram, see, your controller class is here. From here you can access only AM. From the AM you can access view object. From view object you can access entity object. So from the controller you cannot access view object or entity object directly. First what you have to access? AM you have to access. Then what you have to access? View object. In case if there is a entity object, from VO you can access the entity object. So model objects like EO and VO cannot be accessed directly from the controller class except AM. Controller contains methods, nothing but a triggers. In OAF page we call it as a methods. In D2K we call it as a triggers. Trigger means automatically fired. Your code will be executed. There PLSQL code, here Java code. So here only two methods we have. In D2K there are number of triggers. You have more than 100 triggers in the D2K forms. But in OAF page only two triggers. It is very simple. Process request, process form request. Process request method will fires whenever OAF page loads for the first time. Whenever the page is loaded, this method will automatically fires. So when the page is loaded, you want to write some logic. Where you have to write? Inside of process request method, you have to write a logic. Because this method automatically fires whenever the page is loads first time. Whenever the page is loaded first time, this method will be fired. Inside of this you can write your logic. Whatever you want execute when the page is loaded, inside of this you have to write. Next one more is there, process form request. This fires when user submit the page, nothing but when user click the button. When user click the button, this request will be, this method will be fired. Process form request. Let's say 4 buttons are there. You can have the 4 methods. 4 methods. If user click submit button, I want to execute this. If user click cancel button, I want to execute this. We'll write if statements. Inside of that, we'll write if statements and execute. So in OAF pages, whenever you define a controller, there are 2 methods. Process request, process form request. There is one more, process form data. That we don't find here, we'll discuss that later. That is, there we can't write our logic. That is for cache data. That we'll discuss later. In the interview, they'll ask you what are the methods we have in the controller. Process request, process form request. In case if they ask you, is there any one more method? Process form data. Process form data. Total 3 methods are there. Third method we cannot touch because Oracle won't allow to write the code in the third method. So that we can completely eliminate. But we can remember what is the method name and what it will do. That we'll discuss later. Now only 2 methods we have. One is process request, process form request. Process request and process form request. So you want to write any logic, you have to write inside of these 2 methods only. First method will be fired when the OAF page is loaded first time. Means when the page is open. Second method, process form request method fires when the user click the button, submit the page. So 2 things we have. Now this is your controller class diagram. You will open the page. Browser send a request to the controller. In case inside of controller you are connecting to the database, so it will go to the model. It retrieves your data and again it will go and view it. You are not at all written any logic related with database, then directly it will display. Maybe you are putting some debug messages. You are not writing any cursors or no question of tables, directly it will display. Now MVC architecture, this is your model. This is our model, this is controller, and this is your view. In controller, just now we discussed two methods, process request, process form request. And here in the model we have three things. One is view object, nothing but a select statement. One is entity object, nothing but your insert, update, delete, read and write. View object means reading purpose, select statement. Entity object is nothing but writing purpose, insert, update, delete. Read, write. This. Here you can see the arrow mark also, read and write, entity object. View object is only reading. This is also important. Onion architecture of OAF framework. Onion architecture of OAF framework. OAF framework can be extracted into a series of concentric layers like an onion. Inside of OAF framework, whatever the components you are using, those are like layers in your onion vegetable. You have the onion vegetable, right? So you have the layers one by one. Same way this architecture. Each layer only knows about the layers below it. This is very important. Each layer only knows about the layers below it. About the layers below it. What is the lowest layer? Database. After that we have entity object. After that view object. After that application module. After that your controller. If you are in entity object, it knows only database. Entity object doesn't know about VO or AM, doesn't anything. It knows only your database tables. It knows only database tables. If you are in view object, it knows entity object as well as database, both the things. That's what. Each layer only knows about the layers below it. About the layers below it. View object knows entity object as well as your database. Application module. Application module knows your view object. View object already knows entity object. Entity object already knows the database. When you are in controller, first you have to connect to the AM. Your controller knows AM. AM knows view object. View object knows entity object. Entity object knows the database. This is your onion architecture. This is important. In the interviews they will ask you what is the onion architecture. First we will get a controller, then AM, then view object, then entity object, last database. First controller, then we will find application module AM, then view object, then entity object, last is the database. How the data will be selected? Pull is nothing but a select data from database. How the data will be pushed? Nothing but a insert, update, delete. Now this arrow marks I am going to explain. Okay, how the data will be retrieved. Whenever you want to select the data, you have to go to the controller, view object. View object will directly go to database. No question of entity object doesn't require when you want to pull the data. Nothing but when you want to select the data. Whenever we want to select the data, controller is required. AM view object you will create and directly database. AM always it will be there. Without AM, you can't do anything in the OAF page. By default, one AM we have to create and attach to the page. We don't do anything inside of the AM. Okay. So this is selecting the data. Then what about insert, update, delete? You have to first create a view object. Then it will connect to the entity object. Here is the gap again. Then it will load into the database. While selecting only view object and controller, but while inserting controller, view object and entity object. Three things are required. Next, these are personalization profiles. Whenever we are doing the OAF personalization, OAF pages personalization, these two profiles we have to configure. Anyway, that we will discuss later. These are JDeveloper versions. What are the versions we are using? 11.5.10 versions that is. We are using the now 11.5.10 latest version only. And this is the JDeveloper structure. JDeveloper is one of the tool developed by Oracle Corporation. By using the JDeveloper, you can develop OAF pages, ADF pages, MAF pages. OAF means Oracle Applications Framework. Next, advanced is a Application Development Framework, ADF. Next is a Mobile Application Framework, MAF. For all these things, same tool is used, JDeveloper. Last 20 years, Oracle has used the D2K forms to develop the forms. Now they have stopped. That's going to be closed. Now this tool, JDeveloper, is going to be for entire Oracle company. They are going to use the JDeveloper for the forms. One is OAF pages, another one is ADF pages, another one is MAF pages. Mobile Application Framework pages. Now we are in the first stage, OAF pages. Oracle applications will use only OAF pages. ADF and MAF is required for Oracle Fusion ERP, not for Oracle Apps ERP. As we have already discussed, Oracle has released one more ERP into the market, that is Oracle Fusion ERP. Still there are some bugs in the product, it takes another 3-4 years. There are some projects are running, but it will take another 3-4 years. So Oracle Applications ERP will use only OAF pages. Oracle Fusion ERP will use the ADF and MAF. But if you learn the OAF, ADF will be easy. OAF, if you learn almost 70%, you have learned the ADF also. Only 30% we have to learn in the ADF. Okay. So that anyway not required for us right now. Now JDeveloper structure, this tool structure. In the JDeveloper, first we have to create the Java workspace. Nothing but a project. Java workspace is nothing but one project, one module. Inside of that you will find JPR, Java project. JWS is nothing but a Java workspace. JPR, inside of Java workspace will find JPR, nothing but a Java projects. Nothing but a Java projects. Inside of Java workspace we will find either one project or multiple projects. We'll find either one project or multiple projects. Inside of project, we will find three things. Already we discussed what are the three: AM, view object, entity object, and your page. Okay. Inside of the project, what we will create mainly? We are going to design the page. We are going to design the OAF page. Then we are going to create a AM, application module. Then we are going to create a view object. Then we are going to create a entity object. Nothing but this. Whenever we want to develop a page, model is required, view is required. Logic you will write inside of that automatically in the page. Inside of page you will create a controller. Okay. Now we have to know where we have to place this pages. Like in Oracle Apps, last class we discussed Appel top, custom top, 12.0.0, forms folder, reports folder, US folder. Same we are going to discuss now. In OAF, if you develop a page, where you have to place your page, you have to save in the .webui. Your page must be saved .webui extension, nothing but a .webui folder. Web UI stands for user interface. UI stands for user interface. All your pages must be saved inside of this folder, .webui. And your view objects and application module must be saved in the .server. Entity objects will be saved in the .schema.server. So three parts are important. .webui, .server, .schema.server. Inside of .webui, what we will save? Pages. Inside of .server, what we will save? View object and application module. Entity objects will be saved in the .schema.server. These are the three folders we have to remember when we are developing the OAF pages. Whatever the page you are developing, that must be saved in .webui folder. Whatever view objects and application modules you are creating, that must be saved in the .server. Entity objects are saved in the .schema.server. So workspace, project, entity objects, view object and application module, and pages. You can see here .webui, .server, .schema.server. Now we have discussed what is OAF framework and why OAF framework, what is MVC architecture, what are the components. Model consists of AM, view object and entity object. View is nothing but your interface, it's nothing but HTML page. Controller is Java. HTML page means we don't write any HTML code. When you design the form, automatically system will write internally HTML code. We don't need to write any HTML code or XML code. Okay. Controller is nothing but your Java class implementation which handles your user actions and respond to them. Nothing but your calculations, your logic. Three-tier and onion structure of OAF framework and profile options we have discussed. Yes. Now I will just again refresh this entire PDF. So MVC architecture is nothing but a model view controller. Model is nothing but your database. And controller is nothing but your Java class. View is nothing but your HTML page. Inside of view we don't write any code. It is designing. Inside of model also we don't write any code. There we will write select statements. And where we will write code? Controller. Nothing but your Java class. In the model, what are the objects we have? Three objects, we call it as a BC4J objects. Business components for Java. Business components for Java. Entity object, view object, application module. View is nothing but your user interface, UIX, user interface XML. This page will be defined. Controller is nothing but your code. It handles your controller transactions. This is your HTML page, nothing but a view. This is your controller class, nothing but a controller. These are three components we have, nothing but a model. We have the AM, view object, entity object. Entity object is nothing but insert, update, delete transactions. View object is nothing but a select statement. And AM handle only your transactions. We don't write any code here, just we have to create and leave it. Where your work is there means in the controller only. Remaining all things are just create. If you know 3-4 pages development, then any page is common. Where your work is mainly is in the controller. Inside of controller, we'll write our logic. Here only our work. Okay. When we talk about model, three objects we have. Now what is entity object? Entity object is nothing but it based on your table it will be created. Table and column names. Attributes are nothing but a column names. And we will do all our insert, update, delete transactions. View objects are two types. One is SQL based, another one is EO based. SQL based means select statement, search. EO based means whatever VO we have created, this we can't attach to AM. So once you create a entity object, you must create a view object for that. Then you attach the VO to the AM. Entity object cannot be attached to the AM direct. So as soon as you create an entity object, you must create a view object for that. Then attach view object to the AM, AM to the controller, controller to the page. So view objects are two types, SQL based, EO based. SQL based means it represents the query result. It is used for joining, filtering, projecting and sorting. Nothing but your join conditions, set operators, that whatever is valid SQL statement in SQL prompt, copy paste. Whatever you write in SQL prompt will copy paste here. It can be based on any number of entity object and provide access to entity objects. Once you create entity object, either one or multiple. For that we will create a view objects. Then what is AM? AM contains only view objects. AM contains only view objects, and it handles your transactions. It contains only view objects. Every page must have a root application module, nothing but a root AM. You can have either one or multiple AMs per page, but minimum one is required. One AM you have to create and attach to the page, and it handles all your transactions. Then this is the view of your MVC architecture. This anyway we'll see while working with the page. And about controller, it responds to your user actions and direct application flow. Model objects like entity object and view object cannot be accessed directly from the controller except AM. So whenever we work with the controller, directly what you can access? AM. From the AM you can access view object. From the view object, entity object. So you cannot access view object or entity object directly from your controller. So inside of controller, when you start writing the code, first what you have to access? AM. Then you have to access view object, then you access entity object, then start writing your code. And this controller contains two methods, so you can execute your logic in two scenarios. One, when the page is load first time. Another one is when user click the buttons. Process request method, process form request method. These two methods automatically fires. First one will be fired when the page is load first time. Second one will be fired when user click the buttons. So this is when user clicks some button, controller will be executed. Inside of controller you write some database actions, it will go to the model, select and view. Otherwise directly also it will be viewed. So this is your model, database, view object, entity object. Entity object both read and write, and read. Controller two methods this. Onion architecture of OAF. Internal lowest one is database, entity object, view object, application module and controller. When you want to pull the data, nothing but a select, nothing but a search page. Database directly view object and controller. When you want to insert the data, you have to go for view object, from there you have to go for entity object, from there you have to go for database. These are profiles that we'll see in the personalization versions. JDeveloper tool. JDeveloper is one of the tool. It is Oracle tool. By using this, we can develop the OAF pages, ADF pages, and MAF pages. Now we are working with OAF pages. First, Java workspace will be created. Inside of Java workspace, we'll create Java projects. We'll create the Java projects. Inside of projects, we'll write our components. Pages, view objects and entity object. Pages must be saved in the web UI folder. Web UI nothing but a user interface, web user interface. All our pages must be designed in the web UI. Next, whenever we create a view object is nothing but a select statement. And AM, application module, these two must be saved in the server. When you go for insert, update, delete, entity object must be saved in the .schema.server. So these three folders you have to remember. .webui, .server, .schema.server. For example, you are not developing any insert, update, delete operations, then only two folders enough. .webui, .server. Two folders are required. Now here is our workspace. First, inside of that project, inside of that .schema.server, .server, .webui. You can see the path. Okay. That anyway we'll see when we are working with the pages. Okay. Fine. So this is architecture of OAF and the difference between this. So this entire this PPT will send as an email to you, or you can contact Naresh also in case if you don't receive. I think you have already given your email ID, right? We'll send it. Okay. This PPT as well as this class also, it's already recorded. Whatever we have recorded, that we will put it in our YouTube. You can access direct. Okay. So next OAF class will be on Saturday, same time. Okay. Tomorrow, as usual, our classes will continue. Okay. So 7:30 to 8:30, that we have done AR module today. So we'll start the profiles class. And 8:30 to 9:30, what we have done yesterday, just how to create a username and password, how to use system administrator and application developer, that will do it. Okay. So next Saturday, we'll develop one OAF page. Okay. Meanwhile, you can just go through the architecture of OAF 87.